Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Saturday morning, which means it's time for the weekend workshop. And as always, I've got a really good topic for you this week. There's been a lot of discussion in the comments on my generator videos on the tri-fuel generator. And the big thing is around its bigness. The whole idea of the generator being maybe too big to be practical. And there's been a lot of talk about sometimes a smaller generator might be better for you. So I thought I'd put together a list this week of the 5 reasons a smaller generator might just be for you. Alright guys, real quick before we dive in, you know who I am, but if you're new here and you want to know a little more about who I am, run by toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co, and you can find all my social links there and check out the shop. You can find it at toolmantim.shop, and that's where I have over 100 links to Amazon products that I've recommended, stuff I've used in my business that's made me money or saved me money. Bunch of different categories over there. We've got painting supplies, hand tools, cordless tools, prepping supplies, and household items, whole bunch of different stuff that I've used. So if you want to find that out, run by, check that out, and see some of the stuff that's worked for me. All right, so guys, this week, like I said, there's been a big discussion in the comments on my Furman tri-fuel generator review videos and some of the follow-up stuff. And I've had a lot of people say, well, you know, it's a really good generator, Tim, but it's just not practical. It's too big, it's too heavy, it's too noisy, it's too powerful. That being said, absolutely. If you're looking for a whole home generator that is portable with quotation marks around it, the Furman Tri-Fuel is an awesome choice. It's an awesome choice for me, and it might be an awesome choice for a lot of you guys. But in a lot of cases, smaller can be better. Don't say a joke there, Tim. So I wanted to share with you guys my 5 top reasons you might consider a smaller generator over something a little bit larger. So number 1, and this is what a lot of these decisions come down to, a smaller generator, all things being equal, is going to be cheaper. So if money's a consideration, I mean the Furman, I talk about the Furman because that's the one that I have, but you know, any generator up in that 9,000 peak watt range is going to be expensive. And the bigger you go, the more parts that are into it, the more expensive it is. So if cost is a consideration, you might think about going smaller. A small generator is better than no generator whatsoever. And if you're in the process of saving up to buy a big generator and all of a sudden a big hurricane comes and you don't have your generator, well, spending a little bit of money to get the smaller one might have been all you really needed to get started. Another aspect of the cheaper end of things is simply, you guys have heard me say 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is a guarantee. Well, you know, I'm not going to go out and buy 2 tri-fuel whole house generators. Just not going to do it. But if you're looking at spending less money on a smaller generator, save up by the first one, you might be able to have enough to save up and buy the second one, or you might have enough to buy 2 small ones up front. So then you've got one that can stay brand new in the box, one that you can run all the time, and if you happen to have a breakdown during the big power outage, big snowstorm, whatever it happens to be, you can say, oh, Tim was right. 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is a guarantee. Well, you've got 2 of them, one's dead. If I'm on my Furman generator right now, I'm all of a sudden thinking, how am I going to run my house on my little suitcase generator? But if you've got yourself 2 little 3,000 watt generators, the first one dies, you just pull that one out and you keep going. And in some instances, you can get 2 small ones for the same price or even less than one of the big ones. So, you know, when money's a consideration, a smaller generator, all things being equal, is definitely going to be a little bit cheaper for you. So that might be something to think about. Where's your budget? How much do you have to spend? How much can you justify right now? Not how much would you like to spend, because that's a big part of it too. When you're looking at your budget, you can think, oh, I'd really love to go get that top of the line inverter, natural gas, propane, gasoline, diesel, wood-fired generator. It's only $12,000. I've only got $800 in the account, but I can take out a loan to do it. No, you know what? Work within your budget. If all you can afford is a smaller generator, it might just work for you. So a smaller generator sometimes, depending on your budget, could be the one you need. Number 2, and this is a big one. This is one of the ones that everybody is, I don't want to say complaining, but everybody's talking about in the comments, and it's less fuel. Less fuel to buy, less fuel to store, less fuel to rotate, less of a chance of an accident. So with a big generator like I have, you know, you're going to go through 2 5-gallon jugs a day. That's a lot of gasoline. And the bigger the generator, the more fuel it's going to use, even on idle. So you're just going to be pumping through all that fuel. I've got mine set up to hook up into natural gas, which is a huge help. But again, if we're just talking about a gasoline generator, the bigger the generator, the more fuel you have to have. And if size is a consideration, space is a consideration, that takes up a lot of storage space. 12 5-gallon jugs of gas, which is a pretty common fuel storage system you guys have heard about plenty of times, takes up a lot of space, costs a fair bit of money, at least up front to get it started, and it's a lot of gas to have stored. Some people aren't comfortable having that much gas on hand in a garage or in a storage shed or that sort of thing. So if you have a smaller, if you cut your generator in half, and this is just rudimentary back of the napkin math, but of course, if you cut your generator in half, in theory, you should be able to store half the amount of gasoline. Or the inversion of that is, if you still store your 60 gallons, 12 5-gallon jugs of gasoline, then that smaller generator should be able to run twice as long. Then of course, if you get into intermittent turning it on, turning it off, running it only as you need it, running only during the day, whatever it happens to be, you can spread that out a lot. But again, the bigger the generator, the more gas it uses. Hence, the smaller the generator, the less gas it uses. So if you've got one stockpile of gas, my big Furman's going to sip through that or guzzle through that a lot quicker than your smaller one's going to sip through it. Number 3, much easier to move. Now, I will say I'm a big, lumbering, strapping young man. Not young anymore, Tim, don't say that. The generator itself is heavy. My big Furman, it's about close to 200 pounds. So to lift it onto a truck, it honestly takes my wife and I, and it's not easy. Even just to lumber it around the backyard, it has a great lift handle, a great wheel kit on it, and I love it. But when there's snow and sleet or wet mud or whatever it happens to be, in my garage, it's not too bad on level ground, but try to take it into the backyard when I'm ready to hook it up in an emergency. It can be rather awkward, dangerous, difficult. Insert your adjective there, but it's true. It's heavy. The damn thing is like a ton of bricks, and to move it around can be an issue. Now, if you're not as big as me, if you're not as mobile as me, if you're not as strong as I am, if you're not as young and limber as I am, or somebody half my age that is, then you may really want to consider having a smaller generator. Some of those suitcase-sized generators are really nice. They're still heavy to pick up, but they're small enough that you could throw it on, say, a dolly cart and wheel it around. Or you could, even just the small little, say, 3,000 watt ones with the wheel kits on them are so much easier, even for somebody half my size, to wheel around. And make sure, when you look at them, take a look at the wheel kits that they come with. Look for the big knobby tires, sometimes the ones that the never flat, that's the word I'm looking for. Look for the ones with the big knobby tires, the never flat ones that run over just about anything. Those are really good. They're a lot easier to pull through, say, snow or grass than them tiny little, the old style dolly wheel carts that are about 1.5 inches thick. Those wheels are horrible. They're great on cement, but anything off-roading, not that you want to off-road much with your generator, but yeah, just look for something that you can move around, because again, if you've got a 9,000 watt generator and you're at work and your wife has to turn the generator on and she can't handle moving that around, that could be an issue. So you might consider going with something smaller simply because it's more mobile, easier to move, easier to lift. Say you're going camping. Say you want to buy a generator because, again, any of these big purchases, I always say, is really nice to have that you're going to use for have multiple use cases for it. So yes, I love my generator, and it's great to be able to use it for a power outage. But I kind of broke my own rule with this one because it's too big to haul around with my damn camper. It's not practical to even throw on the back of the truck and take it with me. So I have my small suitcase generator that'll run the air conditioner and that sort of thing. But I broke my rule. So if you're thinking about, hey, I'd like something that'll run almost everything in my house, or a lot of the stuff in my house, but I also want it to be small enough that I can throw it on the trailer hitch or the little basket on the back of my camper and take it with me for the weekend, well then you don't want a whole house 200-pound generator, because what are you going to do with it? I mean, nobody's going to steal it. Well, I say that, but it's not practical. It's like, for my American friends, if you want to conceal carry, you need to have something that you're actually going to carry. Something that's the reason I got my neck knife, because I hate things in my pockets. So I want to have something that's small enough and comfortable enough, but powerful enough to do what I need to do. And that's the same thing with a generator. So if you've got a generator that's too heavy, it's no good for you. You're only going to literally use it for the power outage. And maybe that's the only reason you want it, but it sure is a lot better to have a generator that you can also take with you, say camping, or say you got to bug out. Say you got to, I don't know, go live in a Walmart parking lot with your camper for a while. You want to be able to bring your generator. Or say you've got a cabin you go to and you'd like to take it with you. Well, you're not putting that on the back of a quad or a side-by-side or anything and hauling it in. That thing is just too damn big. So something smaller is definitely more portable. It's going to be easier for more members of your family to pick it up, move it around. I don't know. I still love my big generators, but I decided to take a step back and look at it through some other people's eyes and think, you know what? There are instances, there are use cases where a smaller generator can be better. The next one, number 4, and this one honestly depends. I like that, but number 4, smaller generators, all things being equal, tend to be quieter. Now, that's not always the case. You're going to say, Tim, but I know about a small generator that's really loud and it makes all kinds of noise and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. Again, if you take a big generator, set it next to a small generator, overall, typically, the smaller generators are going to be a little bit quieter. Now, here's where the cheat comes in. Because smaller generators tend to be inverter generators. Inverter generators tend to have more insulation built around them, and they tend to be 15 to 20 decibels quieter. So, that being said, smaller generators, on the average, tend to be a little bit quieter than bigger generators. Now, where is that a concern? If you live in the country, it really doesn't matter. But if you live in the suburbs or in the town like I do, of course, you want to make sure that your generator isn't annoying your neighbors. If you live in a homeowners association, you want to make sure that your backup generator isn't breaking some sort of HOA statute that says you can't have a generator that's more than 65 decibels or we're going to come and fine you $10,000 a day until you get rid of it, because you're going to have a bad day if that's the case. And, of course, quieter generator means less attention from other people. So if it's a big, long, protracted power outage, could be a week, 2 weeks, or it could just be one day, and you got a bunch of nimrods that are going up and down back alleys listening for generators thinking, you know what? People have their generators out, they're desperate, it's shitty weather, we don't want to come outside. We're going to go around listening for generators and we're going to steal one. Well, the louder the generator, the more it's going to bring the attention of the ne'er-do-wells that you don't want to deal with. So I know that might be a bit of an extreme, but I'm trying to run all of these points all the way out to their logical conclusion to see why one might consider buying a smaller generator. And the sound in this case is absolutely a big deal. Again, mine isn't too bad. When you're inside, it just kind of sounds like a car running in the backyard. But if sound's a real issue, if you're really close to your neighbors, or how about you living in an apartment building and you want to run one out on your balcony? I'm not recommending it necessarily, but I am saying it's a possibility. So if you want to run one out on your balcony, you're going to need something as quiet as you can get. So sometimes, especially in the inverter generator end of things, smaller does equal quieter. Okay, and number 5, a smaller generator takes up less storage space. Now, if you've got a great big garage like me, and I keep pointing because my generator's over there behind the camera, and of course you guys can't see it, but just imagine it. It's over in a tiny little corner of my great big kind of garage. Doesn't take up a lot of space. Now, if all you have is a small 4x8 storage shed, or say a tiny 3x10 deck on an apartment balcony, or maybe you only have a little storage unit across town, every square foot counts. So when you're looking at saying, oh, I'd really like a big generator like that, but all I got is this tiny little shed, and I've got no room to build anything, I've got no room to add on to the shed, then of course, smaller in your case absolutely could be better. You might say, well, I can put one of these little 3,000 watt or one of these little suitcase 1,500 watt generators right here in the corner because that's the only clear space I have left in my generator. Or it's the only amount of space that I'm willing to give up on my balcony, put a towel over it or a tarp over it and just leave it there. I'm not willing to take up 1/3 of my entire balcony for a great big generator that I'm not going to need anyway. So, smaller, sometimes better as far as storage goes, that's for sure. And as far as storage space goes, I talked about it being mobile beforehand. Smaller means you're going to take it with you more often, but it also means, like when I know when we're packing up to go camping with the RV, storage space is a minimum. You're not putting it inside the RV at all. Basically, all I've got is my 5.5-foot box on my Dodge. And again, you get firewood, bikes, the whole works in there. Eventually, you're going to run out of space. So again, smaller is better. Space is a premium in the back of that box of that truck, and you might not get a great big generator on there, but you might just throw in your suitcase generator. So like I said, storage space is always a consideration when you're looking at buying a generator. So guys, this stuff here is broad strokes. There's a lot of, you can get in real in-depth, and you guys, I'm sure, could argue every single one of these points. But there's a few other considerations that we have to make when you're thinking, I might go with a smaller generator. So after you've listened to me yammer on about generators, because you know I love to talk about them, and you think, you know what? He might have just talked me into buying a smaller generator. I don't need a bigger generator. What do you need to think about? Well, first off, you need to think, absolutely, what are the bare essentials that I need to run in an emergency? Because if you're going to pick up a smaller generator, you got to realize you're making concessions. There's certain things you're no longer going to be able to run. That's okay, not an issue, but there's certain things you're not going to be able to run anymore. So you got to figure out what are the absolute drop dead, non-negotiable items that I need to run in a power outage. Get that all listed. Figure out what the total wattage of all that is. And if it exceeds your smaller generator, think again. Think, well, okay, maybe I can run certain things. Did you add up your furnace, your fridge, your freezer? Now, you might not need all, and your sump pump. You might only need one of those at a time. You might run your furnace for an hour, turn it off. Run your fridge to get it cooled down again, turn it off. Run your freezer, run your sump pump to pump out the holding container in your basement. So you could cycle a lot of things on and off. It's a little more work, but if you live in an area that just isn't hit by a lot of power outages on a regular basis, a smaller generator cycling through all your major appliances or things that are needed in an emergency might be all that you need. Now, one more thing you might say is, I don't even have enough money yet to get a smaller generator. I'd like to, but something you might not have considered is, of course, do you have a car sitting in your driveway? Do you have one parked there? Do you have access to it on the main floor? You might look at picking up, say, a 1500-watt inverter, which works out to about half the price of a small generator, a small cheap generator. You know, you can get them in the in Canada, the $100 to $150 range. So you've already got probably 80 liters, 20 gallons of gas in your fuel tank, something like that anyway. So if you always keep it full, it doesn't cost you any more. This is something that gave me a hard time for a long time, but it doesn't cost you any more to keep your car full than it does empty after you filled it the first time. So if you've got a full tank or 3/4 of a tank and an inverter, you've got enough stuff there. How long could your car idle for on a full tank of gas? Probably a few days. And if you turn it on and off for a while, you can run quite a bit of stuff off a 1500-watt generator. So maybe consider just looking at a digital inverter generator that you can plug into your car battery and then power some of the items you need off it. So that's something to think about too. So if you're even at the point where I'd love to have a generator, I can't quite afford a smaller generator, look at an inverter you can plug into your battery on your car. All right, so that's it for this week, guys. While I was putting this script together, I got a really long comment IM from a community user, Honor Harrington. I'm going to post all that in the description below. It's way more technical than I usually go into. It's awesome information. It's really cool. So check that out if you want to know, take a deeper dive into the size of generators and all of that. I just wanted to touch on the common broad strokes that are really important to everyday preparedness people, somebody looking to get ready for an emergency. So I hope this video helped, guys. If you're thinking about, hey, maybe I want to pick up a bigger, smaller generator, there's a whole playlist of generator videos if you want to know a little bit more about it. So check out my playlist there. And yeah, if you got comments, I love just chatting back and forth dialogue on all this stuff. So throw it in the comments below for me, guys, and it'll inspire me to do another video about generators, which you don't have to twist my arm to do that. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, guys. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.